Jackie Sunny Barbee is a yoga teacher who specializes in creating safe spaces for people with all bodies so that they can do yoga. She's able to share with others how to customize their practice to fit their own body. And whether it's a little bit larger or aging or living with illness or injury, Jackie can help them custom tailor and still experience the benefits of yoga. She's certified in accessible yoga, yoga for all bodies, mind-body solutions, and yin yoga. And welcome, Jackie.
Hi, and call me Sunny. Feel free to call me Sunny. I was born sunny side up, and that was my name for most of my life. So feel free to call me Sunny.
Absolutely. So, Sunny, you're going to talk to us today about making peace with a changing body. And I have to say, for a woman who's 50 and I'm crossing the bridge from perimenopause into menopause, that is so relevant for me. Like, I hope it benefits other people. But yeah,
absolutely. It's relevant for all of us. We are all living in a constant state of change in our body. So
absolutely. So let's talk about what this whole idea of making peace with your body, what that means to you, and we'll go from there.
So starting out, maybe just thinking about what does peace actually mean? And that might, if you just looked up peace in the dictionary, the definition is just going to say freedom from disturbance or a state of tranquility or quiet, which is really hard to imagine that we could ever achieve that space in our bodies. Already, our bodies are always in a constant state of change. We were never meant to stay the same. Our bodies were never meant to stay young and thin and able-bodied and all of these things. We're constantly in a state of change. We're aging, we're growing, we're shrinking, we're recovering from illness or injury. Yeah. We're adapting to the seasons or the environments around us. We're adapting to situations every day. Our bodies are constantly in this state of change. And when we see small babies growing, we see those changes rapidly right before our eyes, right? You have a baby for that first year, it's a constant state of change. And then when we hit the 50s, we hit our age, we're seeing a different type of change, but things are coming along what feels like slower, almost even non-existent for some periods, maybe the 30s or something like that. We're no, it's good. But it's still happening. It's still going on. It's just not as rapid, hopefully, in most cases. And we're the changes are still present. They're just a little bit less noticeable. But the media is always giving us these false impressions that we're always supposed to look young and fresh and well rested. And I don't know about you, but I look into the mirror and I just see my mother looking back every time. I see that young Sunny. I see my mother now, and that can be. It can be nice. It can be startling. It can be. It can bring up a lot of feelings in that.
I was going to say, for some people, that could even be kind of triggering, depending on their relationship with their mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Exactly. It can be a lot of things, and it's okay to let those feelings all be there. But we're always in a state of change, and it's amazing how we just forget about that sometimes because we don't see it happening as rapidly and present, or it doesn't feel like it's present. Although we might wake up and feel a little bit more stiff and achy than we might have felt a week ago or something. But it's always going on. We're always stuck in change. I don't mean to say stuck. We're always in a state of change here. Like our skin is going to regenerate every 27 days. We don't have any control over that. It's constantly happening. Our muscles are in a constant state of change depending on the load that we're putting on them and even the resistance that we're giving them. our brain is neuroplastic and always changing. I work with a lot of older people. I teach yoga to people who are in aging bodies, or I go into the nursing home. I teach people who have a dementia or Alzheimer's, and we're constantly seeing that type of change too. And we just forget that change is our body's natural state.
Yeah, I think that that's a really great thing to take note of, because there are so many people that don't like change and they want to control it, and so they like latch down on things, and that's just generally across all of life and in society. But you know, like you said, like even though we may not see it, we might feel it every day. Like, oh, today my vision seems better, or tomorrow my knee is acting up, or whatever. It's always in flux depending on environment, activity, intake of food and water, you name it. Weather. Yeah. So
and I was one of those people who was always like, I used to never be really open to change. I was always very resistant. I don't like and so, I really had to work on this acceptance of the change, which I think is really, one of the first places that we need to start, is that just acceptance of this state of being, of this constant state of change, and also that we're more than a representation of our bodies. That we are our thoughts, our dreams, our connections with the people around us. We are our acts of service. We are more than this physical representation here in this skin suit filled with water, right?
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's a great reminder for us all to to look in the mirror and to remind ourselves. That would just be a beautiful practice, I think.
Yeah. It's really the good jumping off place there, is that this is where we're at. And now we're going to take that information and we're going to go from there.
I like the whole, the concept of, so what, now what? So what? My knee is being a little pissy today. Now what?
Yes. And I like that too. And like, I'll say that just like that, like, my knee is cranky today. I don't even want to label my knee or my hip or my back anymore as bad or good. Like, my knee is cranky, and you know what? It's 54 years old, and it has taken me all over the place and has done all these things. It's okay to be cranky today. I'm going to be loving how I'm going to respond to it. I had a gentleman just this morning. I teach at a senior center, and he must be in his 80s. And he is a very stiff, inflexible existence right now. And he's really trying hard to get more flexible. And he told me today, he said, well, I just think when I'm starting to feel pain or some stiffness, that just means that I'm supposed to push harder. And I said, or it means you're supposed to rest. And he went,
yeah.
Or that too. But what it is that he is a former football coach, and he knows what his body used to be able to do. And so he keeps going back to, this is where my body was, and I want that body back again. And I get that, but
yeah,
it's not realistic. And pushing himself harder is probably not going to get him to the goals that he's looking for. He might need to back off and be more gentle, and that might gain him more flexibility, which is sometimes a harder concept to wrap our brains around sometimes.
I can relate, because sometimes I still feel youthful and energetic on the inside, and so sometimes I'm like, well, I should be able to do what I did even 10 years ago, and it's like, well, maybe not. I've been painting a friend's house, and I was dismayed that it's been taking me longer. And I'm like, Michelle, you got to remember, you're in a 50-year-old body now. It's going to take a little bit longer than it did even a few years ago, and that's okay. You're still going up and down the step ladder. You're still bending and twisting and sitting on the floor for hours. Like, it's okay. It's just okay.
Yeah. So you're making peace with your body here. It's multi-layered, it's constant and consistent work that that's going to require a lot of patience and a lot of time for us. Sometimes that making peace with our body isn't about strict dieting or being at the gym for hours or having surgical procedures
Right.
to make it look a certain way. It's that self-study. It's changes in our inner dialogue, like you just shared. And it's most importantly, it's just awareness. Awareness. We have to unlearn these decades of conditioning and external messages that have been coming at us about how we're supposed to be. And I mean, what does aging gracefully even mean? Like, does that not fighting it? Because the media has given us the idea that this means doing everything we can to make us look like we're not aging. So, I mean, it's very contradictory, right? Like, we have to find a way to become our body's best friend. Again, like when we were children, a woman who's at peace with her body can be creative, can be happy, can be fulfilled. She can be more in the present and more in the here and now. Like, you can enjoy that time with your friend painting the house more when we're not just caught up on, well, if this was 20 years ago, I would have had this done faster by now or something, you know, and it wouldn't be so challenging. I mean, and I like, kudos to you for doing that. My husband now is like, yeah, we can pay somebody to paint the
I'm on the cusp. I'm on the cusp of that.
Yeah. Friends who love to paint, and I'll just send them a quick text. Hey, you feel like, yeah, I'll be right over. And they can whip it out in no time. Me, it would take 2 days. And for them, it's, you know, an hour or something, but it's fine. They're happy. They're enjoying that.
So so making peace with the body and accepting, is that the same thing as body positivity? Is that what you would term body positivity?
So when we talk about body positivity, the focus is more on valuing yourself enough despite what society or popular culture view as the ideal body shape or size or the appearance. It's movement. It's a movement that promotes acceptance of all bodies, regardless of size, shape, skin tone, gender, and physical abilities. It means seeing your value and letting go of the shame. We also come across a lot of fat acceptance in things. And that's the idea where the social stigma of fatness and social attitudes, by pointing out the obstacles that fat people in general might face. Now, I'm coming to you from a fat, aging, chronically ill body, and people exist in bigger bodies for a multitude of reasons. It might be a choice or not by their choice because of injury or illness. But that doesn't mean that there's a hierarchy of reasons that might somehow make it more morally acceptable. You know, we might be like, oh, they're fat, but they've been on steroids and that's okay then. We don't want to jump into that either.
I think it's really important that you brought in the word hierarchy, because there does seem to be a hierarchy when it comes to physical being and physical wellness. And even in the wellness profession, there's this like perception of physicality, like that everybody's like a skinny white yoga woman, you know?
Yes, the yoga world is just filled with that thin, white, able-bodied, young, standing on the edge of a cliff with her leg behind her head, you know, and like that's the yoga body. Whereas people who look like me are the yoga bodies. And my aging student this morning, living in his 80s something, very stiff body, he's a yoga body. And we just need to just accept all that. What anybody else's body looks like is just really not anybody else's business. And once we let that go and just kind of embrace that a little bit, we just start to understand that everybody deserves. So going back to like the fat acceptance, is that people in these bigger bodies deserve the same things that anybody else in society gets: a chair that doesn't break, clothing that fits and makes us feel good about ourselves, and healthcare without biases. So that might be that kind of like separates the differences there of fat acceptance, body positivity, and making peace with our own bodies. Like, they can be intersected, but they're also very different from each other in the same way.
Yeah. I think that you know, aside from fat acceptance, including fat acceptance, would be like, you know, first and foremost, anyone that does yoga is a yoga body, right? And you know, but I think we can like niche this out into any number of bodies, you know, the less the bodies with other abilities, the bodies that are trans bodies, the bodies that are non-white, right? Like
Mhm.
all of the things that have become differentiators and have faced more judgment and scrutiny. I think those are the ones that really need this space even more so because they have a lot more unpacking than, like, say, I even do. And I have a shit ton of unpacking to do.
And how much of that judging and all of that is internal? Like, how many times are we comparing ourselves to how we were 20 years ago, or comparing ourselves to the person next to us? And that's always
Yeah.
something that I try to emphasize in my yoga classes, is that we're going to let go of that judgment, whether it's for ourselves or the people on the mat next to us, and we're just going to focus on ourselves. I live here, I live in Florida. The beach is 15 minutes away, and I know so many people who live here, and I did it myself when I was younger, where
Mhm.
I was like, well, I can't go to the beach. I don't have a beach body yet, right? Like, I
Mm,
can't go to the beach. You know, I go in a bikini and hang out with my stomach hanging out because I want to feel the sun on my skin. And, you know, nobody
yeah,
cares. Nobody cares. And if they do, that's a them problem, not
that's
mine.
that's their
And
problem. Yeah.
I'm comfortable. My husband, my family, they're like, they have a mom now who's playing on the beach and having fun, rather than the one who was sitting there trying to cover up or not even going because I didn't feel like that was where I belonged.
So that is what's possible through body acceptance and body positivity. Like I love that you gave that example of yourself, because you know I think that far too often we all hide in shame for one reason or another. And you know, I'm gonna just out myself for a second. I went to a burlesque show a couple weeks ago, right? I love burlesque.
Good.
And and there were all bodies dancing up on that stage, and I'm looking at these women and people, and I'm like, what the heck am I complaining? Like, you know, like, who am I to judge myself and not embrace myself as beautifully and wonderfully as these people?
Exactly. How many times do we see or hear or have experienced ourselves that, well, don't take a picture of me. I don't want to be in the picture. I don't like the way I look in pictures. I don't want to be in pictures.
Mhm.
And I look back at the pictures. I was sorting through pictures a few months ago, dividing them out for my children, like this will be theirs, you know, and sorting things out. And I'm just looking at pictures of when they were young, and there's so few of me in there. It's like I didn't even exist. My excuse was, well, I'm the one taking the pictures. Well, you know what?
Right.
I could have been in the pictures too. And
Yeah.
I missed out on a lot of that. And my kids aren't going to have that experience of, there's my mom holding me when I was 4 and I hurt my knee or something like that. I had a friend, and what changed it, it's so funny, is I had a childhood friend, and we got to spend some time together a few years ago, and we'd take these pictures, and she'd always make these crazy faces in all the pictures. And I was like, her name is Jacquie also. And I was like, girl, what are you doing? She said, I'm teaching myself to feel better about being in the pictures. And I say, what?
Uh,
And she said, well, I'm going to hate them anyway. So I might as well make a face and have fun. And then if I don't like it, it's like, look, I'm just being goofy. And I was like, well, that's an interesting idea. And I tried it, and that's what got me to start being in pictures more. And now I can be in
Interesting.
all the pictures. It's fine. This is how I look anyway. So being in the picture or not isn't going to change that. I might as
Right.
well be in there and be with everybody and just smile and have fun.
You know, I think really that's like that's the crux of it, isn't it? Just why not just be able to smile and have fun no matter what? Like, life's too short. Why not just enjoy it, be who you are, say the hell with it, you know, throw off the conventions and the obstructions, right? And just do it.
Exactly, because the people who love you, who are looking at those pictures, who are in that moment with you, they aren't thinking to themselves, oh, I really wish Sunny would be in this picture because of the way she looks. They're like, look at all of us together in this picture, sharing this moment together. And we have this now to mark that we were all together. Like they're not thinking that. We're doing it to ourselves. So, you know.
I know I have heard some people talking about, you know, the body positive movement and whatever, that it's making excuses. I mean, does that mean making excuses or giving up in some way by making peace with what we have?
No, we do. We see that a lot, especially with social media, where people are posting themselves and saying, you know, just be out there and be yourself and wear the bikini and do all the things that you want to do. And you always get the people commenting, well, that's just giving up, or that's just getting fat, being lazy, waiting to die, and all those things. I mean, I've heard all of those things. Fortunately, I don't hear it too much. And when I do, you know, be blessed and be blocked. We're done.
Be blessed and be blocked.
Amen. That's what I say. I don't know you. Your opinion is, I'm not going to carry that with me. And so we hear that, like, oh, being body positive, being making peace with your body is promoting an unhealthy lifestyle. And honestly, I think it's just ridiculous rhetoric. And it's so extremely far from what's actually happening. It just means that we are releasing those self-shaming thoughts and letting go of maybe some of the lifestyle decisions that are driven by body hatred. And we're letting go of those sorts of things in yoga, because I'm a yoga teacher. We go back to the 8 limbs of yoga. And the very first one is called ahimsa, which means non-harming. And so that first tenet is basically the guidelines of everything that we do and think and say. It's our physical, mental, and emotional, our spiritual guidelines. And so we really just need to just come in here with this sense of like how I'm going to look at myself and live my life in this lens of non-harming, of ahimsa. And you mentioned being authentic earlier, and really, like, that's a big deal there, to be able to be authentic with ourselves, be the person, wear what we want to wear, do the activities that we want to do, and let go of all of those things. I'm just going to go back to this. There was a study in Good Housekeeping magazine a few years ago of 4,000. It was a little more than 4,000 women, and 6%, only 6% said that they were happy with their bodies.
Wow.
Only 6%.
Yeah.
What was worse to me, like that was bad enough in itself, is that 14% said that they would be willing to take off 1 to 5 years of their lifespan in order to have their ideal body. And that another 11%, I carry these stats with me seriously because it just reminds me, another 11% said that they would give up sex completely if they could have the ideal body. And
what?
I know that doesn't feel like ahimsa to me. That doesn't feel like ahimsa.
It also doesn't feel like a good sex life.
I'm like, no, this is fine. And let me just tell you, when you hit that place of body acceptance and body love, you know, sex is so much better too. Everything is better. Everything is better. It's so much better.
I think that's one of the things that actually does block a lot of women. I mean, aside from, I mean, there's a lot of factors, but I think that the body shame is what blocks a lot of women and prevents them from enjoying themselves and fully giving themselves in a sexual situation.
100%. In everything that we do. Yeah. How many women are holding themselves back on their job because they're they're carrying shame of how their body looks. How many women are holding themselves back on doing so many things? And I don't mean to just say women. This is a human issue.
It is a human issue.
With this as well too. It's just a little less targeted towards them with the media, with commercials, magazines, social media. It's just they're just a little less targeted, or less obviously targeted, right?
But
And
they have their own body issues and body shame. It's
in a lot. Yeah. It just shows up in different ways sometimes too, like the bigger they are and those kind of things, and where women are supposed to be smaller and shrinking. And, the more that we can come into that more authentic side of ourselves and accept and love who we are, like, we can do some pretty amazing, incredible things. And
I agree. And I'd like to put a fine point on something. Just because you accept and love yourself doesn't mean that you necessarily think you're beautiful, or, like, beauty's on the inside, but you know what I mean? Like conventionally beautiful, right? Conventionally pretty. Because one is very internal and the other is an external experience of yourself. And so, like, yeah, you can still, not be pretty in any way, shape, or form in your mind, and still love that person in the mirror and the person that you're experiencing this physical through. I had a client I want to share with you. Good looking person, good looking. And I was like, and they didn't think so. So I said, okay, well, let's do a little mirror work. Let's find one thing that you like. And they came back to me a week later and said, I can't find anything. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, there's got to be one thing. Let's talk about your eyes. Well, I don't like them. There's crow's feet and whatever. And I'm like, do you like the color? Well, yeah. Okay. I guess I like the color of my eyes. Okay. Do you like the shape? I mean, let's put let's really get detailed. What little bitty, tiny, minuscule thing can you look in the mirror and go, yeah, I like that. And then, like, let that grow and evolve, and what the things that we don't like, what can we thank, yeah, that's it right there. That's the acceptance. Like, okay, so I may not like such and such, I used to not like my breasts. And I was a mom and whatever. I'm still a mom, but whatever. And so I had like this negative relationship with them, and then it slowly grew. I intentionally, decided to love them and grow in my relationship with them. But it all started with, how can I accept? Well, they nurtured my kids.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to say too. So when we come to that place of making peace with our bodies, we're giving up that negative and detrimental self-talk and thinking that we've been conditioned. We talk about, like you had mentioned, about what somebody might think is pretty. Well, where did those standards of beauty even come from? They're Eurocentric standards, exactly. Yes. And really, like, is that supposed to fit everybody in the mold? Absolutely not. I would tell your client, you may not like the shape or the color of the eyes, but look that it's letting you see all of these things of beauty and things that you can take in, and those things that we're grateful for. I'm grateful. A lot of times I remind myself every day that I'm grateful for the things that my body is able to do, not the way it looks or the way it fits in clothing. I like that, I was able to go and spend time with my yoga class this morning with, 20 souls in the room, and we're feeling our bodies and doing all of that. And I'm so grateful for that. When I was younger, when I was, in my late teens, I was going to the gym a lot. I loved going to the gym. It was a good stress reliever for me. Yeah. Not so much now. It's not, I don't like it. It's nothing that I really do, but I love to go hiking. I love to go swimming. We like to paddleboard. I can still exercise, but but I don't even call it that anymore. I just call it my joyful movement. Like, I love to get up and dance, and I'm playing
Yeah.
music and dancing around the house. And that's awesome. I bought myself one of those little mini trampolines a couple of years ago. And
It's fun.
you know, it's fun. I might look absolutely ridiculous doing it. Do not care. I am fun. It's creating those nice endorphins that make me feel happy. I've given up dangerous diets that didn't ever work anyway, and just honestly probably made me put on more weight in the end. I try to listen to my body more. I give her water when she's thirsty. I give her rest when she's tired. I'm calling her she. And you talked about your breasts, so I'm going to talk about your breasts too, Michelle. I saw a picture on social media. It was probably just yesterday, and it was of a young woman who was pregnant, and she had this bra, and her breasts were up high in her chest, and she had this beautiful belly and this clothing. And she took the picture, and then it was, here's the reality. And she just unhooked the bra, and her breasts were down over.
Right.
There was like, it's just things that were going on with her body that was not in the picture.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is reality. And I think that was, for me, was thinking when I was younger, I just kept thinking, well, everybody else looks better, but it's just me. And like, everybody is taking their bra off at home, and their breasts are falling down towards their knees. And, and everything is just falling into different places, and we're all in the same boat. We're all feeling the same way. And let's just stop with that. Let's just stop putting energy towards that.
Yeah. And comparing ourselves to like 20-year-olds is just silly and unnecessary, because we're never going to be that again. Like, okay, I'll mourn that time.
And do we really
No. Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. 20-year-olds, but we can go on about that. But it's definitely become an evolution. And for me, aging actually has helped this evolution and this relationship with my body, because, in some kind of way, I've been kind of a little bit forced to accept it as it is. And if I'm going to talk about self-love, and if I'm going to just like be that person, I have to walk the talk and, find ways. And, but we hold all these past experiences in our body, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that thing, or I wish that thing hadn't happened to me. Injuries, illness, traumas, all those things. And it's like making peace with those too. And then the goodness that we're still experiencing in our bodies, bringing that in.
And be prepared to be tested again too.
Yes.
Something that I went through where I was like, I was coming to terms with this. I was making peace with my body. I was feeling good. And then I got sick, and I was diagnosed with lymphocytic colitis. And it was really super difficult for me to deal with that, because that meant that I needed to go on a really strict restrictive diet to remove some of these things that were making my colon super angry, and I was really having a hard time making peace with that, because I just thought I was just feeling good about myself, and now my body betraying me. And that was my first reaction. And I was sad, and I was sick, and I was angry. And I remember calling my friend Diane on the phone and sitting in my car just crying, going, I was just feeling so good about myself. I was feeling so at peace. And now my body is just really revolting against me. And I had to come to terms with that. This is just where I'm at in this moment. I had to give up some of those things so that I could get out of this flare up, so that I could get better. And eventually I was able to come back and reintroduce some of those foods again. And I stopped being sick. I started appreciating what my body was trying to tell me, that these are the things that just aren't working right. I was able to reintroduce those foods again. And I still sometimes have to go back to that restriction if I'm having a flare up again. But I'm so grateful for what my body is doing for me. And by accepting these changes, accepting what's going on, going with the flow, like it's It's like I'm going back to my beach reference, right? Like if you get
Yeah.
pulled out by the tide and you're fighting against it,
Mhm.
just get tired and you're going to get pulled out more, and you're probably going to drown, or you're going to need somebody to come in and save you. But if you like release, let go, let that tide take you out, and then you start kind of swimming parallel with the shore. You start to swim parallel until you can get out of that rip current, and then you can bring yourself back. And that's what I had to do in that moment, and get more comfortable with myself, and just know that that love and acceptance is what made it easier for me to heal. It
Yeah.
was that we always think that I'll love and accept my body when it looks the way I want it to, or
Yeah.
I'll love and accept my body when it's healthy. I'll love and accept it's the opposite. We got to make that peace first, because
Yeah.
the healing is going to come with that, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's all going to come back in. I've been dealing with an injury for a few months now, and it's been frustrating because it's been slower to heal. It was slower to diagnose. It was slower to heal. And I thought, oh, here we are. We're going back on this path again. I'm not able to jump on my little mini trampoline right now. I haven't been able to roller skate. Yes, at 53 years old, I decided I needed to take a roller roller skating again. Am I a great skater? No, I'm lucky I'm not falling and injuring myself more. But am I having fun? Yeah, absolutely. But I haven't been
Sure.
able to do some of these things for a while, just because of this injury. But it's still okay. I still have gratitude for the things that my body is doing. Even though my colon is not angry, I'm still able to digest most foods and enjoy these things and enjoy this life. I'm not able to roller skate, but I'm still able to walk around and practice yoga and be out in nature and do all these things with my family. And I'm just really grateful for what my body can do now.
Yeah.
And doing the things that I love, or to try new things that I've never tried before. You were saying earlier about, this is my body nourished, your body nourished your children. My body was my children's first home. It took care of those children.
Right.
My body has kept me safe in situations. It has healed from illnesses, and it has allowed me to participate in some of the best moments with my family and friends.
Mm.
And I love my body now for everything that I can do and see and feel.
And in the moment, in the heat of that, like, getting a diagnosis or having an injury or in the struggle, right? It's easy to feel victimized. It's easy to feel betrayed, and then it's experience your experience, but at some point you have to come around and be like, okay, all right, we're still going to work on this relationship. We're still going to work on this love thing, because like our body is the only thing that's going to be with us from birth till death. That's the only legit belonging we have in this world. So
Yeah, our relationship with our body is our first relationship that we've ever had. Like we came into the world with this body. We're going to go out of this world with this body. And so we really need to take the steps to let go of those expectations of what we think it's supposed to look like, what we think it's supposed to do, because sometimes that's just not what the reality is,
right.
I've had students who have had limb loss or things like that, and they're just like, yeah, I never pictured myself with this, but this is the situation that I'm in, and it doesn't mean that my life has ended now. Like I can still do these things, and it just looks differently now. And we release those expectations and those ideas of what we think it's supposed to be.
I also love how you brought up your mini trampoline and other things, because I think we have this idea of what exercise is supposed to look like, and it's not, right? Exercise is just simply movement and experiencing movement and tap dancing can be exercise, right? I got some
It is exercise. I'm telling you. That's
So,
great. That's great exercise. Yeah.
roller skating, is exercise. Like, have fun with it. I've had to break out of the conventional mindset around exercise myself, and the tap dance shoes were my breakout moment, right? Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna like part of me wants to like kick a soccer ball around in the yard, or whatever. There's so many different ways to get quote unquote exercise, but let's look at it as just movement and activity and aliveness.
We move our bodies so that we can move our bodies, right? And
Yeah,
picking up those tap shoes and or grabbing a soccer ball, like that's being your authentic self. That's being truly authentic. That's bringing you joy. You're more likely to go pick up those shoes and tap more than you are in the car and go to the gym every day. My husband set a goal a few years ago where he wanted to, you dribble a soccer ball. My husband's in his 60s now. So I think he did this for his 60th year or something. He wanted to be able to dribble a soccer ball on his foot continuously 60 times. And that's a lot of work for him.
Yeah, it did.
But he loved it. And he had this goal. It wasn't that he wanted to go lift this much weights or run this marathon. He was like, I want to juggle a soccer ball with my feet 60 times without being interrupted. And that was his goal. And he did that every day. And it was physically challenging, it was very physically challenging, but he loved it. He had so much fun, and it was more motivating to him than anything else. And I loved it for him, that was releasing those good endorphins. He was feeling good with himself. He was happy. And that's just what we need to be finding. And that is making peace with your body. That is coming to terms with, this is what makes me happy. This feels good. And it's not perfect. We don't have to do everything and be the best at it. Just do it. Just for the fun, step away from the expectations that we pick up from people or the media or anything that is not our true self. Like, just let go of those things and remember that we have children that are watching us and that they're picking up on our biases as well. And how we treat ourselves is teaching people how to treat us too. So there was a lot packed up in all of that too. So it's a lot,
but it's good.
So, we want to keep those things in mind as well, that if we're holding ourselves back, we're teaching everyone else around us that we're not able to do these things, or we're teaching our kids that, well, don't bother if you're not the best at this or whatever.
And who knows, going to the playground and having a swing or hanging upside down might be the most therapeutic and emotionally healing thing you could possibly do.
I said that I teach yoga to a lot of people who are aging bodies, and I teach at a nursing home. And so they wanted me to teach 2 yoga classes a week, and we ended up changing one of the yoga classes. We don't even call it yoga. We call it joyful movement. That way we can do whatever we want to do. And I have a lot of patients who come in who are usually heavily medicated, or their illness, whether it's dementia or stroke or Alzheimer's, a lot of times they come in and they're just sleeping through the class. All right. So one thing that we do, we're just trying to get them exercise. These are long-term care patients. Some of them are in their 90s, some are 100. I bought a bunch of pool noodles and I cut them in half and I blow up balloons, and we bat the balloons around the room, and they're getting so much exercise. And there is one particular woman, although it's pretty much general throughout the whole class, one particular woman who doesn't participate in the exercise. She's usually, got her eyes closed and sleeping. But as soon as I pull out those balloons and noodles, she's alert and ready to go. And honestly, I have to watch her to make sure she doesn't try to jump out of her chair, because she's having so much fun. And the other nurses and physical therapists have come in and have been like, she's like this every single time. She sees the balloons and the noodles come out, and she's ready to go. And she's batting people and laughing.
I love that.
Really alert.
Yeah.
But she likes. Now, now I'm telling her to raise her arms and breathe and stretch. She's out. That's not, she's not interested. But when we
It's
start,
too chill for her. It sounds like she needs something fierce.
we start batting balloons around and she is like lit up, and it just makes everybody so happy. And then it spreads throughout the room and everyone else is like, well, she's having that much fun, I'm going to have that much fun.
Right.
And trust me, that is like some of the most exercise that I get during the week, because I'm running around chasing balloons,
Right.
batting them around. But I'm thrilled. Like, I feel like I've run a marathon. I only let them do it for like 10 minutes because trust me, like we'll have like 4 balloons going on at once.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. But that's what we do in that class is we'll dance. We might do a little Tai Chi. It's all in our wheelchairs or our chairs. Nobody's allowed to stand, but we'll bat the balloon around. We do exercises with the noodles, which is so much fun too. And we just do what we want to do. And we don't have a set expectations of what we're supposed to do, and everybody has a really good time when we're moving our bodies, and they feel good, they feel young.
Yeah. So Sunny, let's just get to the, like, let's just bring it on home here. So where can people start on their journey to make peace with their bodies? What's a good starting point?
So I have a few suggestions. Like I said before, start by letting go of the expectations and comparisons that we have for ourselves, for, where we're comparing ourselves to our younger selves or comparing ourselves to other people. Like, that's a really big start. I also suggest, and this is not the giving up part, but some people might interpret this in there as, let go of trying to manipulate your body shape or your size. Accept how it's been created. And, some of this is just the way it is. This is just its natural state. Like, I'm not going to spend a lot of energy trying to change the size of my feet. My feet are big, they're flat, they're wide. It's pointless of me to spend a lot of effort trying to change my shoe size.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that with my body too. I'm going to focus on, other things. Instead of focusing on losing weight, I'm going to focus on how I treat myself. So if that running or the workout at the gym is what makes you happy, then do that, but don't do it, but do it because it feels good. Don't do it because it's punishment for, because you ate some cake at your,
because I have to,
or you ate, you want to eat some tacos. Like, it's not that punishment. Fried foods make my stomach hurt, make my colon really angry. So I don't eat them. But it's not because I'm worried that my pants are going to be too tight. I just don't eat them because, they don't serve my body well. So I let that go. I try to surround myself with people who aren't excessively focused on what their body looks like and that kind of thinking, because that can get really like contagious and draining you in there and pulling that in. I try to remove myself from the media that is constantly trying to tell me that my body isn't good enough, that it's not perfect enough. I don't want to get caught up in those personal dialogues anymore. I create a relationship with my medical care provider. That's not a passive relationship. We create goals together that aren't related to the number on the scale or some BS outdated, inaccurate BMI chart. Like, we focus on taking care of my health and realize that being able-bodied or young or thin does not equal good health. No matter what anybody is trying to tell you, just because somebody is young and thin and able-bodied doesn't mean that they're healthy.
That's a really important
on. And we need to realize and accept that. And then just releasing anything that that makes you feel negatively about your body, whether it's people, magazines, social media. If you're following people on social media that are constantly reminding you these things about yourself, it's time to let them go. They're not serving you. It's time to let them go.
That pair of jeans from 5 years ago, let them go. Who
Let it go.
cares?
If you turn around and next month you lose the weight and you would have been able to fit into them, you're going to want to go buy yourself new jeans anyway. Like wear clothes that feel good, wear clothes that are comfortable, wear clothes that are an expression of your personality.
What I love is like I love looking at values statements, right? So I'm not going to look at, I mean, it's easy to look at your body and see, oh, I want to be a certain size or whatever, and try and put that estimation into pounds and whatever. But what if you just wanted to feel as strong as you could? What if you just wanted to feel vital? What if you just wanted to have energy? What if you just wanted to be flexible? Like,
Yes.
yeah. So, instead of a certain size or a certain poundage, what values would you like to experience in your body?
Yeah, really. Like I said, going back to being your authentic self, what makes you happy? What feels good? It more than likely does not matter what that number on the scale is. It's being with your family and friends. Well, I want to be with them all the time. So I'm going to make some of the changes in my life that are going to impact my longevity on this earth. I might lose weight. I might not. Don't care. Not attached to that, because at the end of the day, body peace is not about how body peace is about how we feel and not about how we look. It means accepting our bodies as they change and paying attention to the signals that our bodies are giving us. We might never do this perfectly. We can try, but it's something that we can definitely try and strive for. We can go back to that definition at the beginning of our conversation of peace in the beginning. A woman, a person who is at peace with their body is free to become whoever he or she desires to be without the constant negativity and self-deprecating thoughts beating us down and keeping us in a box that we probably don't fit in or want to be in to begin with.
Well, the ahimsa, the no harm, do no harm mentally. Don't do any mental harm to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's so easy to fall into judgment. We're taught, it's almost glorified in some aspects of our society to be judgmental, but it really doesn't serve us individually, collectively, in any way, shape, or form. And people confuse judgment with discernment. And you're right.
On that one.
Like I can bring it to church right now. So discerning what is good for your body, what feels good, what's right, how it wants to move, what it needs to eat, versus judging what I should or could do.
Creating rules that don't even need to exist, creating rules for ourselves, limitations for ourselves that I don't even just talking about it. Like I could feel like my whole body was reacting just talking about that, where I was just like, that's heavy. I don't want to do that. Like I want to go bat a balloon around with a pool noodle because it's fun and it makes me laugh. And you know what? Laughter's a breath practice. There's a physical activity in there. I'm releasing, good hormones that make me feel good, make me feel happy. I'm reducing my cortisol. Yeah, I mean, that's a plus.
Absolutely. Laughter is an underrated practice. Okay. So, Sunny, I want you to let people know how they can find you, because you do also virtual classes and such, right? Yes.
I do offer some virtual classes. So I have, first you can find me on the YouTube channel. It's just SunnyBee Yoga, SunnyBee, like the bumblebee, yoga. You can find me on YouTube under that. That's my same username on Instagram and Facebook. On those, I will offer other, you can see my schedule where we can practice virtually. I do a few classes online. Chair yoga is definitely My favorite, so I do a chair yoga class once a week. I do a gentle yoga class once a week virtually so that you can join me from anywhere. And I want to add a little bit here about the bees. So the bee part, BEE, is part of my last name, Barbee, but it's also the bumblebee. And so where the bumblebee aerodynamically isn't supposed to be able to fly, right? Like they have these big round bodies and these little wings and they're going so fast, but nobody has told the bee that they're not supposed to be able to fly. And so they just do it anyway. So I embrace the bee right there. So just go be like a bee and fly. Also my website is sunnybeeyoga.net. So you can find me on there as well. But yeah, go be a bee.
I knew I loved you. We have an affinity for bees. We share that.
I love them. They'll come and land on me and crawl around. I don't get stung. I've got one that hangs out around my house and will come and just hover in front of my face and we'll have little conversations and then it will fly off. I love bees so much. And I love that everything that bees do, I'm looking at my bees on the wall right now, and everything that bees do in the hive is for the betterment of the whole community. Every bee has its job. They do it well, and it's to serve everybody. And I love bees.
Me too. I was looking at a bee purse before we got talking.
A little bee top too. I have bees up on my wall. I have bees everywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sunny. I really appreciate you. I've loved having a chat with you.
Fun.
Yeah. So check out SunnyBee Yoga and have a fantastic rest of your day, Sunny.
Bye. Thank you.